Evelyn Monroe stood at gate A17, back straight, shoulders squared like she'd done 1,000 times before, walking into boardrooms that stank of power and indifference. But this time, there was no boardroom, no polished table, only a red rope, and a woman behind a counter who had smiled just a little too long before saying, "I'm sorry, but first class is already boarding." Evelyn had heard those words before, but never like this. The plane wasn't full. The gate was silent. No one moved. No one even looked up, except you. You saw her. You watched her shoulders twitch. Not from anger, but from something older, heavier, ancestral. Something that didn't belong in airports or terminals, but lived in the cracks of American promises. You felt that chill down your spine, not because she was denied, but because it felt like watching a glitch in something too big to name. And then she turned, pulled out her phone. One call. Just one. You couldn't hear the voice on the other end, but whatever it said, her face didn't move. No blink, no breath, just the way her lips tightened like the edge of a sealed vault. You remember what happened next, don't you? The lights flickered. Not the airport lights, the sky. The clouds outside shuddered like a signal. 5 minutes later, all flights from that airline, every single one across the country, were grounded. The monitors turned black, then flashed white. No one said anything. No alarms. Just silence, like the air had been sucked out of time itself. You weren't supposed to be watching her, but you were. And now you're caught in it. You think this is about race, about power, about money. Maybe it is. But then you heard it too, didn't you? That sound from the intercom. Static followed by a voice that didn't belong in this century. It called her by a name that isn't in any database. A name no one had spoken aloud for 100 years. Evelyn didn't react. But the baby 2 rows down started crying, then whispering. Not crying, whispering. Whispering that same name. Again and again. In a voice no child that young should know how to use. That wasn't language. That was memory disguised as sound. And here's the part you won't tell anyone. When she walked away from the gate, past the stunned security and hollow-eyed gate agents, you swear, she passed someone, a man. A tall figure in a pilot's uniform, except no one else saw him. His badge was from an airline that ceased operations in 1972. You Googled it. You looked, but there was no flight log, no personnel record. Just a grainy black and white photo from a crash that killed every soul on board. Except one body was never found. Now ask yourself this. If power is knowing what others can't see, then what do you know now? Because the moment you pressed play, something followed you here. Something that whispers through signals, hides inside airport speakers, and watches who boards and who doesn't. Evelyn Monroe made one call, and the entire sky shifted. But you witnessed the moment before it all broke. So the question, Zwigyu, and as the camera pans back through the flickering monitors and empty gates, you'll hear it. That same name, this time not from a baby, not from the intercom, but from your phone right now, from a number that doesn't exist, whispering the name that Evelyn tried to bury with silence. But silence was never enough. Answer it, if you dare. The phone vibrated again, soft, insistent, but when you checked, the screen was blank. No missed calls, no messages. Just silence staring back at you like a cracked mirror refusing to reflect anything real. That name, the name, wasn't supposed to exist. Not here, not now. Yet, it lingered. Your mind like a half-remembered nightmare slipping away just as you tried to grasp it. And then the first doubt seeped in, cold and slow, spreading like ink across your thoughts. Did you really see Evelyn Monroe at all? Because every video feed you rewinded, every clip you scrolled back to, showed her standing at the gate. Yes. But it also showed her face, fading, like static eating at the edges, like the airport itself was trying to forget her. You called a friend, someone who should help untangle this mess. Jonah, a journalist who's chased real unsolved mysteries for years, but who's recently started sounding like he's unraveling himself. When you told him what you saw, his voice cracked. Not with fear, but exhaustion, like he was guarding a secret too heavy to carry alone. "Maybe it's a glitch," he said, but his words didn't carry relief. "Maybe it's not her. Or maybe none of this is." Jonah insisted you check something, a hidden archive on a dusty server he found in a thread nobody follows anymore. He called it the truth behind what no one tells you, a place filled with old passenger manifests, flight logs that shouldn't exist, and recordings from flights that never took off. You dove in, desperate, but the more you searched, the more you felt it slip through your fingers. The recordings, garbled whispers, echoes of voices you swear you heard moments before but now don't remember clearly. Footsteps in empty halls, cries muffled like they were drowned out before you could understand. Every audio clip had a glitch, a distortion that sounded like a warning or a cry for help, but maybe it was just your mind playing tricks. Your phone's screen flickered again, a flash of static, and then a voice, soft, almost intimate, murmuring. The same forbidden name you thought you'd erased from your memory. You shook your head, trying to force the sound away, but it was there, just beneath the surface, like the echo of something you're terrified to face. Jonah called back. "You're not crazy," he whispered, but even as he said it, you caught the tremor, the hesitation that spoke volumes. "There's something deeper, something they don't want you to remember." But his own words sounded like they came from a man haunted by ghosts that may or may not be real. The line went dead just as you realized you hadn't asked the question that now pressed on your mind like a weight you couldn't lift. If Evelyn never really boarded, if that name isn't meant to be spoken, then what exactly disappeared that day? And then, just when the dread threatened to swallow you whole, a new sound emerged from the silence. Soft, a breath in your ear, a whisper from the darkness you didn't want to acknowledge. Was it your own voice? Or someone else's? Someone you thought was long gone or never real at all. The room around you blurred. Your memories started to unravel. Faces, places, moments erased or rewritten. You couldn't tell if this was a breakdown or something sinister clawing its way into your mind, threading itself into your very reality. The only certainty, whatever you thought you knew, was a lie. You're left standing in the ruins of truth and doubt, clutching a phone that might just be a beacon for shadows, waiting to see if you'll answer the call, or disappear like Evelyn did, swallowed whole by a silence far thicker than any night at the airport. For a moment, it felt like the fog was lifting. You found it, a faded document buried deep in an obscure government archive. A passenger manifest dated the very day Evelyn Monroe was denied boarding. But this one was different. This manifest showed a name almost identical to hers, except for a single letter switched, a tiny slip that almost seemed like a code. Next to it, an annotation in the margin. Denied access. Incident unresolved. That word, unresolved, burned through your mind like a sudden ignition of long dormant memories you thought you'd lost or never had. You could almost feel the pieces clicking into place, the hidden truth exposing itself in sharp, terrifying clarity. You were about to uncover the whole story, the secret no one was brave enough to tell, the truth behind what no one tells you, the answer to why Evelyn vanished, why the skies went dark, why your mind kept cracking at the edges. Then the file opened further, and something inside it shattered everything. A photo, black and white, grainy, almost like an old Polaroid, showing a woman with eyes eerily familiar. She wasn't Evelyn Monroe. She wasn't even from this time. The photo was dated exactly 50 years earlier, the day of a similar incident that had never made the news. A woman denied boarding under suspicious circumstances, a flight that never took off, and a disappearance that the police called unsolvable. The details mirrored Evelyn's story like a twisted reflection in a broken mirror. The woman in the photo stared straight at you, her eyes alive with a terror that was too raw, too immediate to be mere history. Your heart dropped because suddenly you knew you'd seen those eyes before. In your dreams, in fleeting moments of déjà vu, in the cracks of your memory that whispered of a past you didn't own, but that owned you nonetheless. As you tried to hold on to this fragile thread of clarity, the room seemed to close in. The lights flickered with an unnatural rhythm, casting long shadows that moved just beyond the edge of sight. The air thickened, pressing down on your chest, with a weight that felt like a silent warning. You sensed it then, a presence, something ancient and patient, lurking beneath the surface of all you thought was real, watching the story unfold from the beginning with cold calculation. It was not a thing you could see or touch, but something that seeped into your bones, gnawed at your sanity. It had been waiting for you to find this hidden truth, knowing that with every revelation, the walls of your mind would crumble further. And then, the twist. As you scrolled back through every clip, every recording you had relied on, a single frame caught your eye. A detail missed before because it seemed insignificant, but now it screamed with meaning. The same shadowy figure you thought you'd glimpsed only once, standing just behind Evelyn, was there in every scene. Always there, watching, waiting, unchanging. The realization crashed over you like a tidal wave, dragging everything beneath it. This wasn't a story about a woman denied first class or even a mysterious disappearance. This was a trap laid long ago, a looping nightmare you were trapped inside, and the truth was never meant to be found. As you sit back, breath shallow, hands trembling, you understand now why no one dares to remember, why they lie so fiercely to themselves and to you. You're not crazy, they lied to you. And every moment you thought was real might be just another glitch in a memory crafted by something far darker, far more personal than you ever imagined. It's time to watch again, because nothing is what it seems. Not even you, the moment you thought you were alone in this twisted puzzle. The truth slammed into you like a wave you never saw coming. You're not the only one trapped in this invisible labyrinth. Somewhere beyond the glow of your screen, in the shadowed corners of the world, others have been watching, waiting, decoding the same cryptic signs, the same fractured signals that seep through the static of what you believe to be reality. You start to see it now, an invisible network of minds tethered by fragments of dreams that bleed between sleep and waking, by symbols etched into grainy found footage from 20 years ago that the government never released, scattered messages hidden in plain sight, as if someone or something wants these pieces found, wants you all to connect. It's in the late-night flicker of a neon sign that flashes a sequence of numbers no one else seems to notice. It's in a glitch on a random video where a brief frame exposes a pattern, a mark that feels oddly familiar, yet terrifyingly alien. You can't shake the feeling that someone else is speaking directly to you through this chaos, that the boundaries between your memories and the collective unknown are blurring in ways that defy logic. The messages aren't straightforward. They're riddles, puzzles designed not just to inform but to confuse, to seed doubt and suspicion, to pull you deeper into something that feels less like investigation and more like indoctrination. You realize with a cold certainty that this is no accident. The very nature of identity, memory, and control are being toyed with by forces so vast and patient they've been shaping the narrative from the start. As you wrestle with the fragments of your unraveling mind, a third perspective emerges from the murk, an observer who speaks in whispers and half-truths, someone who claims to have been outside the system long before you ever arrived. They share grainy footage, blurred faces, and intercepted transmissions, hinting at a conspiracy that stretches beyond government secrets and corporate lies into something that feels ancient and pervasive. Like a shadow that crawls just beyond the edge of all light and reason, this observer is not just a witness. They seem to be the only one willing to confront what you're all desperately avoiding. Their voice is raw, human, and unsettlingly intimate, cutting through the noise with a clarity that chills your bones. They don't promise answers, only the weight of a truth you've always suspected but never dared admit. You were right all along. The dread tightens around you, a vice gripping your soul as you realize the stakes are far greater than you imagined. What you thought was a simple story about a denied boarding and a vanished woman is actually the surface of something far darker. A mechanism of control that manipulates memories, rewrites realities, and erases identities to maintain a carefully crafted illusion. The symbols, the dreams, the voices, none of it is random. They are signals from those who have slipped through the cracks, who refuse to forget, who are silently calling out across the void in hopes you will listen, decode, and awaken. You sense the presence behind it all. Not a person, not even an entity, but a force, a will that has been watching, waiting, orchestrating every twist and turn with cruel precision. And yet, amid the swirling chaos of doubt and revelation, something shifts. The story you thought was unfolding linearly now loops back on itself, fracturing time and memory, forcing you to question everything you believed about who you are and what you remember. The very fabric of reality seems to fold in on itself. As you reach the edge of understanding, staring into a void where identities blur, and the concept of self threatens to dissolve entirely. There is no clear boundary between what is real and what has been implanted, no safe place to stand. The conspiracy is no longer just a story to watch. It's a living, breathing thing that has claimed you, reshaping your mind as much as your memories. The screen flickers one last time, and in that moment, you realize this is not the end but a beginning, an invitation to step deeper into the unknown. The messages multiply. The observer's voice grows more urgent, and the symbols become impossible to ignore, demanding your attention, pulling you closer to a truth so vast and unsettling that your very sanity teeters on the brink. You are no longer just a viewer. You are a participant, a puzzle piece in a game far beyond your control. And as the signal fades, you are left with the echo of one haunting certainty. The story has never truly been yours to tell. It was waiting for you, watching through every flicker of memory, every glitch in the system, ready to pull you into a darkness you may never escape. In the quiet aftermath of all the revelations, the fractures in memory, the shadowed figures, lurking beyond every frame, the voices speaking from nowhere yet everywhere, Evelyn Monroe finally faces what no one else dared confront, the unbearable question of why. Not what happened, not who orchestrated it, but why this haunting spiral of control, deception, and erasure exists in the first place. It's a truth that pierces deeper than any conspiracy, deeper than any government cover-up or hidden agenda. It's a truth about the fragile, aching heart of being human, the unbearable weight of identity, the desperate need to be seen, remembered, and believed, even when the world fights against it. She stands on the edge of this revelation like a person waking from a dream so vivid it blurs the line between nightmare and salvation. This moment is raw, unbearably intimate. A painful confession whispered not to others but to herself. "Maybe I was never meant to know," she says, voice cracking under the weight of years she didn't realize she was carrying. "Maybe the truth isn't out there. Maybe it's inside me, tangled with every fear, every hope I buried beneath the surface. It's not just the story of a woman denied boarding or erased from history. It's the story of every person who has ever felt invisible, unheard, or lost inside their own mind. But there's a choice here, a crossroads standing between destruction and salvation. To accept the truth, with all its terrifying implications, is to risk losing everything that defines her. Her memories, her sense of self, the very reality she clings to. Yet to turn away, to retreat into the comfortable lie, is to condemn herself to a life half-lived, forever haunted by shadows she can never fully escape. This choice doesn't come with clear answers or easy comfort. It's a leap into the unknown, a surrender to something larger and darker, yet possibly more freeing than anything she's known. The air grows thick, the silence stretching like a held breath as Evelyn's eyes finally open wide, not with fear, but with something fierce and resolute. This awakening is terrifying, but it is also necessary. It's the moment when the story stops being about the mystery itself and becomes about the raw, human struggle to find meaning in chaos, to carve identity from fragments, and to face the abyss without flinching. The screen flickers, the shadows pulse, and the boundary between what is real and what is imagined blurs into a trembling line that only you, the witness, can walk alongside her. And just as you feel the weight of that moment settle in your chest, the screen fades to black, leaving nothing but the echo of a final, haunting line that will linger long after the video ends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.